Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on a Friday afternoon. My name is Tim Pettipiece, and I teach in the College of Humanities at Carleton, which is home to three programs: the Humanities program, Religion, as well as Greek and Roman Studies. And in general, the college strives to promote an interdisciplinary approach to arts education. And this is certainly true for the Greek and Roman Studies program, which is part of the college as a whole. A lot of people traditionally know this as classics or classical studies, but we use the term Greek and Roman Studies here at Carleton to be a bit more descriptive. And the goal is to study ancient civilizations in all their aspects. So it involves a systematic approach to history, literature, art, philosophy, religion, politics, even material culture. So there's also a strong emphasis in our program on archaeology. There's a minor in archaeology that's available, as well as opportunities to study ancient languages, Latin and Greek, at the beginning and more advanced levels. So it seeks to provide students with a broad and I would say holistic understanding of the ancient world, while at the same time engaging with the ongoing influence and reception of classical culture in the modern day. And hopefully students leave the program with a well-rounded education that's based on a broad historical perspective. And that's very often good preparation for a variety of graduate programs, since we were just talking about that, if someone chooses to go in that direction, as well as professional programs in addition to that. For myself, as a researcher, I'm interested in religion in the ancient world, especially late antiquity, which is a kind of transition period between the classical world and the medieval era. In particular, I'm interested in religious texts and how they indicate not only religious diversity in that period, but the competition between various religious identities and communities from that time period. So that's enough about me. We'll transition now to Charlotte. Maybe you could start by giving us a sense of where you're at in your studies at the moment.
Yeah. Well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here today. My name is Charlotte. I'm also a fourth year, and I'm a double major in Greek and Roman Studies and the Humanities, and I have a minor in archaeology.
So in some ways, you're an ideal student for the College of Humanities. Are there any particular factors that influenced your decision to study at Carleton?
Yeah, for sure. Well, one of the things that actually Madurin touched on a bit is I really liked the location of Carleton. It's its own little city, its own campus, and being on campus, everyone you run into is a student or a professor, and it feels like it has its own really great community, but it's also really close. It's in Ottawa, so you get that downtown feel as well. And I knew I really loved Ottawa because I'm from the area. And so I loved that balance that you could have where you could go onto campus and feel really secure as a student and just hang out with people who are also students. But when I wanted to go downtown, I could also do that as well. So I really loved the location. And then specifically, I really liked the Greek and Roman Studies because of what like a small community feeling program it was. One of the things I remember when I was in grade 12 was all of my high school teachers always warning me that like you're going to be 1 in 600 people, no one's going to know who you are, and your professors aren't going to care. And so when I toured Carleton and the Greek and Roman Studies and humanities areas, it became very clear that that was the opposite. Like the class sizes aren't huge. Your professors do know who you are. I've never had an experience in all 4 years. I've never gone into a classroom and felt like I didn't know some of my peers or that the professor didn't care about me as a person or as a student. So because it's that small, it has its own like lounge and its own lecture room. So it felt like the Greek and Roman Studies had that balance of, yes, it's a university and it's got a lot of these opportunities, but you're not just a name and number. You actually have a lot of connection there as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting that you say that, because I think a lot of people going into university are concerned that, and as you say, there's a kind of messaging that gets imparted to high school students that they will just be lost in the crowd, and it seems to me that you found there was a certain appeal to a smaller program where you would be able to find that sense of community. So I'm happy to hear that. But I think that is a good lead into my next question in terms of when you think back to what your expectations of university were, and maybe what some of your anxieties and concerns were versus how it has played out. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, for sure. I think I was super worried about the wrong things going into it. I was so concerned about, like if I was going to make friends and if I was going to do well, and maybe I shouldn't join extracurriculars in case that would be bad for my marks. And then actually I got there in my first year and I realized it was quite easily the opposite. I was able to make friends really easily, and joining extracurriculars was the opposite effect on my grades. By getting more involved, I felt like I had actually done better and I made more connections with people. And so I was really concerned about being lost in a crowd, but it ended up being the opposite for myself.
Oh, that's great. What were some of these extracurricular activities that you decided to take up?
Well, in both just like the humanities departments itself and also Carleton. Carleton has a lot of great sports extracurriculars that you can join, like very casual sports teams. So that like I personally, and for my first year, I did a basketball. It's essentially you just meet up and play games. And then in the Greek and Roman Studies department, I didn't join in the committee on planning size, but they have the Carleton University Classic Society. So they host a lot of really great events, which is just fun, informal ways to join with other Greek and Roman Studies peers and all throughout the years, and donut events, donuts and coffees, and movie nights. And it's just a really nice way to meet with people who have the same interests as you and in the entire program, and make new friends and connections. And then as well, the humanities department, they also have societies like that, which I was able to get involved with as well. So although it's still a very niche community, it's not just an academic setting.
So you would say you have, you feel you found a kind of sense of belonging and community among students through both of your programs?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's something really powerful about meeting people who have the same passions as you. And in the Greek and Roman Studies department, there's definitely like-minded people in that we all share a love of history and art and religion and mythology. And so to meet other people who have those interests, which you may not have had when you were in high school, it definitely created really strong friendships. It was a really great opportunity to meet those people.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think that's just as important. The kind of social experience and community experience is key to any successful journey through university. As much as the academics are important, it's also the setting in which those academic activities take place. But you're in something of a unique position, being a double major. I mean, I don't think that's particularly common among students. What made you decide to take on that challenge?
It's interesting because I knew I loved Greek and Roman studies and I knew I wanted to be a part of that. And my eye also was caught by the humanities department because I loved reading and writing, and I also loved philosophy and more modern types history. So I didn't want to choose. And with the design of Carleton, and the help of a lot of the academic advisors, I didn't have to just choose one. I really could do both. And so for me, it was the best of both worlds. I didn't have to specifically give up any one of my interests. I could learn both and be involved in either or.
Have there been any particular challenges trying to balance the status of being a double major, or have you found they work together pretty well?
I found that the humanities department and Greek and Roman studies, obviously I can't attest to other different combinations, but I found that those two have paired really well together in that a lot of my requirements share some things that I can double count, and then I don't have any scheduling issues in which the humanities classes or the Greek and Roman studies classes are running at the same time. So I've been very lucky actually that I've been able to get all of the requirements I need with quite ease. Hasn't been too challenging in that sense.
Yeah, it certainly does seem to be a kind of natural pairing of programs that have similar approaches and aims. Now, I understand you've done some work abroad in terms of archaeological excavation in northern Greece. Can you describe that experience?
Yeah, so in my second year, Madurin, I actually went with him as well. Okay. On the Classics 3400 travel course in Greece. So we both did that one, which you described earlier. And it was that experience was incredible. It was a travel course, so you're learning the history of different sites while traveling and on the sites itself. So we went to Athens, Delphi, Olympia, and many more places, and it was really incredible. And so once that course ended, most of the students all traveled back to Canada together, whereas I continued onward and I went to an archaeological dig. So with Carleton's help, I was able to apply to work as a student at a dig site for credit, and the Carleton accepts credit, so it went towards my minor, my archaeology minor. And I went to Argelos, a dig site called Argelos. It's northern Greece, just north of Thessaly. So there I was able to work for 4 weeks, and it was really incredible. I got to actually do some hands-on experience, which I'd never been able to do before. I had never had that opportunity without Carleton before. So I was working 5 days a week, actually on site or cleaning and cataloging artifacts, and digging through Bronze Age up into Hellenistic period, ancient Greek artifacts. So it was really, really incredible experience. And I was able to learn a lot of the stuff that we talk about in the classroom, but don't get to do as hands-on. Being in Canada, we don't actually have access to dig sites of that date, which is fair. But being able to go abroad, I was able to actually physically dig myself, learn those digging techniques with my trowel, and learn the measuring techniques and how to properly catalog artifacts and just live a personal dream a little bit. It's one thing to history, archaeology, and Greek art, but it's a completely fulfilling experience to be able to be in Greece and hold some of these ancient artifacts in your hands. So it was an incredible experience, one of the best parts of my degree by far.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a great way to bridge the gap between the theoretical and the practical, and to have a truly hands-on experience of what you're learning in the classroom. And is that something you ever expected to do when you came to Carleton, or was it a sort of surprise opportunity?
No. So when I was applying to Carleton, one of the things that also caught my eye was the ability to go abroad, whether through exchange or through travel courses. And I remember as a high school student seeing that they had archaeological dig excavations, but I never assumed that I would be brave enough to do something like that. I was like, oh, no, I wouldn't. But once I got to Carleton, it was actually my professors who introduced me to these opportunities and said, like, no, this is something you can do. And there was definitely a lot of doubt in myself when I was filling out my applications and preparing to go. But with the support of my professors and, of course, my peers in the program, I ended up feeling brave enough to apply, and I did, and I don't regret it at all. I'm really glad that they pushed me towards it.
Well, that's fantastic. Are there any... And when you think back of all the courses you've taken and your studies abroad, etc., are there any particular skills that you've developed, and especially ones that you might not have expected you would have developed in the course of this program, or that you find that are useful to you moving forward?
Oh, definitely. Just in the Greek and Roman Studies department specifically, you talked about we learned languages, we have the opportunity. So one of the things that I learned was ancient Greek. That was something I never expected to learn. I always really struggled with learning languages in French and before, so I never anticipated that that would be something that I would do. And although I only did 1 year myself personally, but it was a skill that I was so proud of myself to pick up. And looking back, I'm really glad I did it. And then more generally, just research skills in general, I've picked up so much more knowledge. I thought I knew how to do research before coming to university, and I was completely wrong. So research and my writing skills, being able to think critically and apply knowledge in an academic setting, my communicating, oral speaking, and then also just in general confidence in myself. I definitely picked up some practical life skills by going to Carleton and with the Greek and Roman Studies department.
That's great. Again, I think the connections you're making between the academic and the personal and social are so important. And it sounds like you've found a good balance of all those factors through your studies, which, as you say, you're now in 4th year, so it's, I mean, time to be thinking of what's next. Do you have a sense of where you're headed in the near future?
Yes, so I know grad school is on the table for me. I made the decision that I wouldn't apply yet because I want to get some hands-on experience. So I'm going to be applying to a couple different internship opportunities, actually. There's a great opportunity through the Canadian government right now, the Youth Works Heritage Program. So I'm going to be applying for a couple internships through that. But I know that I will be doing a master's down the road just because I love being a student and I'm not done learning. So I definitely will be looking toward that. But in between then, I'm looking into a lot of hands-on learning experiences like these internships.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan moving forward. What sort of programs in particular are you weighing if you do make the return to the academic side?
Yeah. I'm getting really interested in probably specifying on museum studies, working in museums, and a little bit more in archaeology. My heart belongs to Greek and Roman studies, so if I can specialize in ancient Greek archaeology, I would be very happy. So I'm leaning towards that end, but we'll see. We'll see if my heart gets pulled towards something else when I'm gathering some more hands-on experience.
Yeah. Well, the way you've described that is a good segue to my last question here. I was wondering, because we do have some people tuning into our discussion and people will be watching it online after, and thinking back to when you were finishing high school and contemplating university versus where you are now, do you have any advice to, students, say in grade 12, in terms of trying to pick a program? What sort of counsel would you give them in terms of trying to find the right fit based on what you've gone through?
Yeah, I definitely have some advice. My first one, and I think Peter and Madurin kind of touched on this in their discussion as well, is that the university experiencing is as enriching as you allow it to be. And saying yes to opportunities and keeping eyes open for opportunities is really going to be your best friend, because the more that you say yes to and the more that you look into, you'll realize that there's so many open opportunities and it'll really enrich your experience if you do that. And in terms of choosing a program, I'm a firm believer personally that following what you're passionate about and what really sparks your interest and really makes you happy is going to be so beneficial. There's a lot of skills that you're going to learn along the way, whether it's skills independently in your specific studies or just life skills that you can apply to a whole world of opportunities. These skills in researching, writing, critical thinking, and analyzing, you can apply those to a lot of different things. So if you have a passion that is leaning more towards the humanities, I think following that and being open to learning skills both within that realm of study and that you can apply to a lot of different stuff is really going to be beneficial.
Yeah, I agree 100%, and that's certainly the case with my own experience of being open to things and the unexpected, and unanticipated opportunities. I often tell the story to people of my guidance counselor in university said I wasn't quote unquote cut out for university.
Awesome.
I ended up there anyway, and here I am. But it was so much more than I imagined or anticipated, and I think, as you say, having the confidence to say yes to these opportunities as they arrive can really take you a long way and enrich the experience. But thank you, Charlotte, for all those very thoughtful answers that I think gives us a good impression of your experience and the program in general.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me here today, guys.